Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's the meme of the day brought to you by 5mind.com. Well, that was fast. Of course, it's the short-lived high of socialism, or voting for socialism, right? Everybody's all excited. Ooh, free stuff. Everything will be free in this socialist utopia. Let's vote for Zoran Mamdani. So many people get on a high during election day and during the campaign, but then of course, very quickly after the election, reality starts to kick in. People start to actually sober up and think, and already it seems like we're there. Mamdani regret is already kicking in. Now's the time for people to actually start to rationalize the ideas, think about the policies and their effect, and already you can tell there's buyer's remorse. Already you can tell the harsh realities of socialism and socialism failure is now at the forefront of people's minds. I got this incredible clip here, an absolutely brutal clip. We got a street interviewer on the ground interviewing bodega owners and small business owners in New York City, and they're now being faced with Mamdani's actual socialist policies, and their reaction, well, it says everything. I guess now is time to find out, to learn what you really voted for, to learn what you're really getting here. Well, it seems like the writing might be on the wall with this one. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so just take a look at this.
He win, by the way?
He won.
They chose the knucklehead, so we're gonna pay for it.
What happens if he opens up the government-run grocery stores?
I'm not with it.
Oh, you don't like the government-run grocery stores?
Nah.
$30 minimum wage. Can you explain how that might affect businesses?
We're going to hell. It's over.
How are they gonna make payroll? It's just about all the policy that he tried to do, increasing the workers and the taxes. It's not good.
The minimum wage doesn't help the worker. It just helps the system. Pay more money, more taxes, prices go up.
Overnight, half of them will go out of business.
Well, I'm in a blue state, I'm sorry, but I've been red my whole life. Democrats have always ruined, steal, rob, and lie.
Any thoughts on having him for 4 years?
What I can do is just swallow and try to face it, but it's not easy.
Exactly. Who's gonna pay for it now, right? How am I gonna afford a $30 minimum wage? Wait, I gotta compete with state-run, subsidized grocery stores? How am I gonna do it? Well, there you go. Good luck, New York City. You just elected an economically illiterate, zero-experience trust fund baby socialist to run your city. What do you think's gonna happen? Sure, you got all these fancy schmancy ideas born in a college dorm room, but what works in the minds of a college stoner doesn't work in the real world, obviously. And really, I think there's such deep-seated irony here. You know, on the night of Mamdani's victory, he declared that he was speaking for all the regular folk, right? Oh, the bodega owners, the Mexican abuela, the taxi drivers. Remember that moment?
I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties.
But obviously that isn't the case. Well, you could literally see it in the exit poll data. We got some numbers here showing education levels and how people voted, and overwhelmingly those with advanced degrees, bachelor's degrees, they're the ones who voted for Zoran Mamdani. The regular people who are working hard to make ends meet, yeah, they didn't. That pretty much tells you all that you need to know. But Zoran claims that he's speaking for the regular folk. No, he's speaking to the elitists. He's speaking to the people who these policies actually won't affect. He's speaking to the people who want a virtue signal, not those who are going to be going to these city-run grocery stores. They wouldn't be caught dead in the bread lines. You know, actually, I have this clip from Batia Ungar Sargon. I think she really lays it out clearly.
His constituencies were Muslims, South Asians, and then these 20 to 30 something overeducated, over-credentialed, downwardly mobile hipsters in Bushwick and Brooklyn who think they're the working class because they failed to get like amazing jobs and have student loan from getting, you know, degree upon degree upon degree. They have enormous contempt for labor. And as a result, they want things from the government despite him being like the most privileged people on planet Earth. And Mamdani is their avatar. This is a guy who's like a total Nepo baby, never worked a day in his life, lives off his parents, but makes it seem cool, right? Like it's cool to like live off your parents, be a total failure if you can make great content for social. They don't actually want him to do any of this stuff. They would never dream of shopping in an Aldi. Forget about a free supermarket. These are people who spend $12 on a cold brew.
Exactly. He's speaking to a totally different crowd. Overly credentialed, downwardly mobile, 20 to 30 something hipsters who think they're working class because they have student loans. Absolutely perfectly said. That is his base. And the regular folk, well, they're about to get regulated out of frickin' existence. And really, it's like I keep saying, we're in a very dangerous moment. These years of inflation, the bad policy, this almost purposeful economic harm that's been subjected on the next generation. It's the perfect breeding ground because when people are dealing with these economic harms, well, they're a whole lot more susceptible to promises of free crap. And all the generous government handouts, the classic saying of government is here to help. It sounds beautiful. It sounds heroic on paper, but they're empty promises. And right now people are falling for it. And you've got skilled politicians like Zoran Mamdani who are taking advantage. And in a lot of ways, I think that actually speaks to where the GOP is failing right now, because the real solution here is not big government. It's not government doing more for you. It's you being able to do more for yourself. And there's not enough focus on the issue of affordability and tackling it by free market means. And so instead, we got socialist grifters who are pushing false promises, but really the only inevitable promise here is economic calamity.
Until yesterday, we had the worst mayor in the world.
That's true.
In London. But America, New York just went, hold my beer.
Yeah.
And in comes Mamdani. I mean, this is going to be an absolutely priceless thing to watch. Because Mamdani has never run a Welk stool.
Yeah.
Remember Welk stools, belly deals, that kind of stuff. He's never run anything.
Yeah.
He's in his 30s. He's got zero experience. But what he's brilliant, he's a brilliant politician. Mm-hmm. He's a brilliant promiser of great things to come. He's the promised land in many ways. The problem is he will not be able to deliver on any of these promises. Socialism does not work. Mm-hmm. It never works anywhere. It's never going to work anywhere. And so he's going to start letting down people very quickly. I think the ideology behind him and behind wokeism is dead, and it's going to come back and haunt him and the party. Because you just can't, everything he says, it sounds great, it looks great, but none of it can work.
It's going to be interesting to see if this can even play out here in New York City. Are these very radical ideas with extreme expansion in government, stuff like state-run grocery stores or taking over housing here in New York City specifically with the decommodification, as we saw specifically campaigned for by Zoran Mamdani on the campaign trail, where the government will plan to go in and purchase private housing in the quest to make housing more affordable here in the United States. I think that's an interesting policy idea. It certainly is prescribing the wrong solution, but for an accurate complaint, right? People are struggling to afford life here in Manhattan and around our country. We all reasonably should be coming to the table with solutions for this, but is more government involvement the solution? Time and time again throughout human history, the answer has been no.
That's exactly right, and I think Piers Morgan really isolates just how ridiculous this whole Mamdani rise really is. This guy's never led anything. He's never run anything in his life, but now he's going to run America's biggest and most prosperous city, and he's going to tackle all of these systemic issues. A 30-something-year-old Nepo baby who's never as much as broken a nail. Come on. He's an actor. He's a New York City theater kid. His entire campaign was improv, but actual good governance is not false promises. It's not acting. It's not improv. It's math. And you don't promise a bunch of stuff that you can't afford and then just, I guess we'll figure it out after we get elected. No, you need a real concrete plan. And taxing the most productive citizens in your state or in your city is not a real plan. No, that's how you destroy a city. That's how it always happens. Engaging in class warfare and demonizing the people who are creating jobs and paying the majority of your taxes. That's how you lose to Florida. And really, speaking of lose, who do you think are going to be the biggest losers? Again, it's not the trust fund NYU grads. It's not the fancy elitists and overly educated hipsters. It's not the fancy schmancy people who get to gloat about voting for Mamdani as if they've done their charity for the year. Oh, we've saved all the poorest peoples. Mamdani's basically a cocktail party talking point for them. They're not the ones who are going to be hurting. No, it's going to be the regular people, the bodega owners, the people working in restaurants, the small businesses, the people who are running general stores who won't be able to compete with a subsidized state-ran grocery store. A grocery store that can have artificially low prices and outcompete pretty much everybody because the whole thing's subsidized by the taxpayers. And it doesn't even matter if they make a profit or not because the billionaires are going to pay for it. It's the regular people who are about to lose. And I think Mamdani's about to learn a very, very serious lesson. Just the other day we were covering a video where he basically said that his taxes aren't going to have a negative impact on the state because, hey, it's New York. What do you mean? We can increase the taxes as much as we want and people will still be dying to do business here because it's New York. Yeah, that's not the way the frickin' real world works. Capital moves to wherever the talent is or wherever the best business and tax environment is. And if you make New York City the least competitive place to do business, New York will start to decline. Despite the culture, despite the history, and where do you think that money's gonna go? It's gonna go to Florida, Texas, Tennessee, the Carolinas, basically anywhere where the math works. It's basic arithmetic. You can love New York City and its history, but the concept of going bankrupt or not being able to run your business effectively, I think that's gonna overshadow the Big Apple's majestic allure. It's called common sense, people, but obviously Mamdani is only selling a fantasy. Everything's a fantasy with this guy, and well, that's the first sign for an impending disaster. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.